Hey Motorheads, welcome back. Mitch recently had a customer that ordered a base model two-door Bronco at the dealership. They really wished once they ordered it that they'd gotten the Sasquatch package. We were able to make that dream a reality here, and we hope you'll stick with us for the video. We'll show you all the full parts. Mitch will go over those in just a minute, and we'll give you the instructions. So hopefully if you want to tackle this project at home, you can handle it. See you soon.
Hey guys, I'm Mitch. I'm usually behind the camera, but I want to show you the parts that we're going to be putting on this two-door Bronco here today. So these are all Ford Factory Sasquatch parts that we've got here. We've got our fronts, our rears, and we're going to move over to our control arms. On this Bronco, it's just as level as you can get. This is going to raise this whole vehicle up 2 inches, and I highly recommend going to the Zone upper control arms, a little bit more durable in case you're going to put bigger tires on.
Before you raise the vehicle up, you're going to want to take a quick measurement from the middle of the center cap to the underside of the fender flare. This measurement is going to be used in the future. If you were doing a simple ball joint replacement, control arm bushings, hopefully you don't have damage, but replacing damaged parts, you're going to need that measurement in the future. Whenever you lower the vehicle back down, you're going to want that to be set the same before you torque down those control arm bushings. If you torque those bushings down with a longer distance in here and then let the vehicle down, it will strain and torque those bushings. First things first, you got to take all the wheels and tires off. That'll do. We remove the body clip, screw out the center screw, pull the clip out. That allows you to flex this to the side so you can get to the 10mm pinch bolt located on the steering shaft. Remove that bolt completely. After removing the pinch bolt, slide the shaft upward. That will release the steering shaft. The reason you have to remove that shaft is because this bolt runs all the way through the upper control arm, and we'll be sliding it in this direction to remove it. This is a spare control arm to look off of. You're going to want to remove the height sensor, which is bolted on here. In reference, it's going to be right in this area on top of the control arm. That would be your next step if you have ride height sensors on there. This one's not equipped with that, so we'll be going on to the next step. We mentioned removing that steering shaft bolt and that coupler. If you are only replacing the shock and spring assembly with the Sasquatch Bilstein brand, you do not need to do that. We're doing it today because we're also upgrading to those control arms. Your next step is going to be to remove this nut off the upper ball joint. It doesn't require a lot of force to break it loose. Once you remove the nut off the upper ball joint, you're going to want to support that steering knuckle so that it doesn't flex out and damage any of the lines on it whenever you get your ball joint separated. You're going to need a 35mm socket to remove the center axle nut next. You're then going to remove the nut holding the sway bar link to the lower control arm. It's a 21mm and our Allen size is a 6mm. The Allen fits in the center, and then you can get the nut loose and ratchet it off. Remove both nuts off the bottom of the strut mount. We place the support underneath the lower control arm. We're now going to take the nut the rest of the way off of the upper control arm and ball joint. Releasing that. Now that's going to cause this steering knuckle to want to come outward. This is the reason we removed that axle nut. You're going to want to beat that axle back in there a little bit, either with a rubber mallet, something soft, aluminum drift, anything, but you don't want to damage the end of that axle. And you don't want to pull on it and dislocate those CV joints. We then took the caliper off and the brake rotor. That allowed this steering knuckle to move away without damaging the ABS line, wheel speed sensor line, and the brake hose. Once we did that, we were able to pull the knuckle, and we decided then to loosen up both lower control arm camber caster adjustment bolts. As you can see here, we marked them prior to. This is the factory alignment setting. We did an orange mark on those. We'll want to set those back exactly where we got them. I spoke earlier about doing that measurement. This is why. Those bushings would not allow this lower control arm to drop down far enough to free this strut. So we loosened those up. We were able to pry the lower control arm down, and now we can get that strut out and replace it with that Bilstein. We removed the 3 top nuts holding the strut in. The one you can access from the engine bay. They're all 15 millimeter. These 2 on the outside you can break free, but you're going to need some strength because you can only use a wrench. We used a ratchet wrench. Once those are out, you'll see why you needed to really flex that lower control arm down. We only have a small area that we could work down inside before we pull this outward. We could have went ahead, since we're doing the zone style upper control arms, we could have pulled that control arm out of our way to gain us a little more access for the top of the strut. But we're out and ready for our Sasquatch Bilsteins. We're removing the upper control arm now to do those aftermarkets. It's a 21 millimeter on the nut side, 24 millimeter on the other side. We have a ratchet and socket on this side, and I've coupled 2 of them together. Hook them like that. Gives you a lot more leverage. Once you have it loosened up, then you can go on the ratchet side and ratchet it out. You want to get that in there?
Look at you go.
Make sure that the reservoir on the new Bilstein shocks are inboard on the inside. Slip it up inside of there just like you took your old mount. You have to align your bolt holes. We slipped the new Bilstein in place, got the studs ran it through the top, got the studs through the bottom. It did take some persuasion. Really glad we took that caliper off. We were able to pull this down. You had to maneuver the axle out in order to get that lower control arm down far enough to get the 2 studs on the lower strut mount into the control arm. We're in. We're going to tighten the nuts up and go to the next step. Okay, if you're putting the new zone upper control arms in, position them in place, start with the bolt, put it through the same direction. The struts, we've already got those in. The upper nuts torqued to 41 foot-pounds. The 2 big ones on the bottom torqued to 66 foot-pounds. We're now going to put the nut on that end, and we'll show you the torque on that. We're reconnecting our steering shaft now, and then that should be it for up front. We tightened up the axle nut. We'll torque it shortly. We did not torque that cross bolt that goes through the top of the control arm. As we discussed earlier, you want to do that when the vehicle is at its ride height so that you don't stress the tension on those 2 bushings. Now we can pull this down and put the nut on the bottom of the upper ball joint. Torque the upper ball joint nut to 46 foot-pounds. Got our brake caliper back on, got our caliper bracket here that holds the brake line as well as the ABS or the wheel speed sensor. Got it back on. Everything is torqued for now. Again, we won't be torquing the control arm bolts upper or lower until we've got it set at the ride height so we don't stress those bushings. We're getting ready to go over to the other side. If there's anything different, we'll give you those snippets along the way. Otherwise, we'll see you when you do the backs.
And the passenger side's done.
We're working on the rears now. So far, the only thing we had to do is take these 2 inner fender well clips out. That allows you to flex this. It's pretty pliable. Of course, you want to be easy on it. And that gives you access on the inside of here to those 3 top strut mount bolts and nuts.
So we got our stands underneath the rear axle, and then we've got our nut over here. That's a 30 millimeter. If you have a 30 millimeter wrench, you're going to want to hang on to that. On the back side, we've got a 27 millimeter for the bolt that goes through. This can be a little hard to get a socket to, so that's why we're going to do a wrench on this side and then try to hit it with the impact on this side, break that loose, or breaker bar first and then break that loose. But most importantly, put your stands under here, because once you have your 3 bolts out of the strut up top, That is the only thing holding the rear axle up, so you want to be careful with that.
After you get the bottom bolt out, the strut assembly should just slide right out. Okay, we got the 3 nuts started up on top. We've got the struts in position. Make sure that you have the reservoir towards the front of the shock and strut assembly when you put it on. We're quite a bit lower. Of course, this is a lift kit, so we're going to have to drop the rear end down a little bit with our stands and then line up for that bottom bolt. Got everything installed here in the back. Got the 2 body clips put back in. Everything's torqued to spec. Turned out nice, easy install. Now we're going to go to the front, put the wheels and tires on it, drop it on the ground, and torque those upper and lower control arm retaining bolts. You'll torque the lower control arm bolts to 210 pounds. We put the vehicle on the ground so the ride height is where it should be, crawled under it, snugged the bolts down so that those control arm bushings would be set, raised it back up, and continued to torque it to 210. Well, Motorheads, as you can see, we're all done with the Bronco for today as far as the suspension lift. Turned out really nice. It's got a beautiful stance, but stay tuned for the wheel and tire combo we've got coming up. Also, don't forget our merchandise is in a link listed below the video right above the comments. Thanks again for viewing, and stay tuned for the wheel and tires.